Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. Now, with all the stress that we're experiencing right now, I'm still desperately clinging to hope and exploring how we can use technology to find solutions to all our problems and also turn those problems into opportunities. And last week, we spoke with Linda Spiegel about getting your resumes ready and LinkedIn profiles and how to stand out from the crowd with all those AI-driven recruitment methods out there. But today, I've invited the co-founder of a highly advanced mindfulness and relaxation app called Synctuition onto the podcast. And you may also remember that I recently spoke with the government of Estonia about leveraging technology. And I said at the time, I want to get an Estonian entrepreneur onto the podcast. Well, it didn't take me long to find one. And so today is going to be that day where we get to speak with one. Today's guest is Michael Bjorick. And he believes that one of the biggest risks of this global crisis is not only the immediate health of the population, but also the effect that the constant intake of negative news is having on everyone's mental health. And negativity and stress are already proven to weaken the immune system, which ironically, of course, is exactly the opposite of what all of us need right now. And maybe that's why the last few weeks have felt such a long, hard slog. But how can technology help? Instead of scrolling down those endless social media timelines of doom and gloom and 24-hour news channels, how can tech actually help us? That's a question I want to explore today. So buckle up and hold on tight so I can beam your ears all the way to Estonia, where Michael is waiting to speak with us today and tell us all about Synctuition. So a massive warm welcome to the show, Michael. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Of course. Neil, thank you very much for having me on the show and sharing your platform to spread some positivity on such uneasy times. My name is Michael Bjorick. I'm the co-founder of Synctuition, which is a mindfulness audio relaxation app. And we designed it to help people improve their mental health through really what we call an entertainment platform. Basically, it's an app that will help you relax after a heavy day, especially after all the negativity that surrounds us these days. We have a very unique positioning on the market, and our goal is to make sure that people work on their mental health on a daily basis, kind of like they work on their physical health, because what we're seeing through the research that we've made is that there is a big mental health crisis ahead of us if we don't do anything about it. We also just recently announced that we made the app free of charge in 14 countries. And we also announced a day of positivity. We call it a 24 hours of positivity, where we, encourage people to make an act of kindness, something positive. And we're doing that on the 24th of June.
And I'm so glad to get you on the podcast today. And like I said before we started recording, I felt a little bit down before we came on today because I watched a little bit of the news and we just seem to be surrounded by so much bad stuff and there's nothing good to shout about. And we all need that shot of positivity. But can you tell me a little bit more about why you believe that one of the biggest risks of this global pandemic is not only the immediate health of the population, wherever anyone listening is in the world, but also the effect of the constant intake of negative news and what that's having on everyone's mental health right now?
Of course. We just conducted research in the United States, which is our biggest market right now. We're doing something similar for the UK and the EU. But the research shows very clearly that even before the pandemic, there's a lot that points to a big mental health crisis happening in the country. So mental health disorders are increasing, technology addiction, screen time exploding, isolation increasing because of use of social media, obesity, use of antidepressants, anti-anxiety medication, alcohol consumption, suicide rates, and just overall chronic stress, really. We saw all of that happening in the United States before the pandemic. Now, if you can think of having all those dangerous ingredients in a cocktail and suddenly you catalyze all of that, which is really what the pandemic did, then you can only imagine what all of these ingredients on steroids would result in And now you add on top of that the global unemployment rate and all the craziness that's going on right now. And it scared us. I think it should, we're not just trying to spread fear. We're seeing something that really scares us, and we're trying to do something about it. And a lot of people are talking about the physical health problems, but I think there's not a lot of people, or not enough people out there talking about the real danger that can come out of all of this. I think the World Economic Forum called this the biggest psychological experiment ever. And, we sort of agree with it. Today, we live in a state of chronic stress. Every day we're bombarded with negative news. I don't even know if 2020 can, surprise us anymore with the amount of bad news and things that are happening. So we're living in a constant state of stress. And of course, that has a very big impact on our immune system. Also, scientifically, if we talk about the immune system, then there's things called, adrenal stress hormones. And whenever we have any disbalance of hormones in our system, the body doesn't really function well. Now, what happens with stress is when we're stressed, say, we're nervous, we're anxious, we're uncertain, for example, about our jobs or whatever it could be, the mind sends messages to the adrenals, which then release hormones like cortisol, which gives us this adrenaline rush, feeling of sweating, heart pumping. Like you said, you were feeling down. That's what cortisol does, which is okay. It sort of prepares you to deal with the stress. But the problem is, if we're in a chronic state of stress, then those hormones are produced all the time, and that completely depletes the adrenals. So when you're depleted of these hormones, that's when you feel sad, you feel fatigue, you tend to gain weight. It affects your memory, and it does a whole bunch of negative things to you. That's why it's so important to deal with the chronic stress situations that we have right now.
And the fact that negativity and stress are scientifically proven to weaken the immune system, which is, of course, exactly the opposite of what we all need right now, it's kind of ironic, isn't it?
It is ironic, but as I just said, it has to very much do with the way our body works. And when we feel this stress and we produce those stress hormones, that's when when we produce too much of them, we end up depleting them and end up feeling tired. And literally, when the adrenals are low, that's when our immunity goes down. So there's a direct kind of relationship between stress and our immune system. And this is something that we, with our app, are trying to of course, fix.
And for many people listening, wherever they are in the world, they're going to be coming out of lockdown after months of being indoors, being consumed by news, repeating death tolls and scary alerts around the clock on those rolling news channels. But do you think that one of the untold stories right now amidst this crisis is how social distancing and quarantines are isolating people and actually leading to severe depression and even increased suicide risk factors? Because we're not seeing those reports yet, but I think we're going to see more and more of it, aren't we?
Absolutely. I'm quite happy to say that just recently, there have been a few articles to come out that are beginning to at least scratch the surface regarding mental health and the mental health crisis that can come out of this pandemic. But we feel like it's a huge problem. Our research shows the same. We're about to publish this research that's called "We Are Still Not Ready for the Next Epidemic" and Unpacking America's Mental Health Crisis. So it shows up in our research. Social distancing, quarantine has had a dramatic effect on people's overall depression rates and how they feel, and especially suicide. Suicide is also risk linked to unemployment. And if you see what's happening right now because of the pandemic in terms of unemployment, that's going to take a heavy toll on people. And then we're really worried about the suicide rates that are coming up. Again, it's one of the reasons that we decided to make our app completely free of charge in a lot of markets to help people during this time of crisis.
And it is a universal problem, but this podcast is also about technology and finding solutions leveraging technology. So I've got to ask, what is the story behind Synctuition?
Okay, so to give you a little bit of background, we started developing the app just over 10 years ago. So that was actually going back to the previous crisis, the Great Recession, if you will. we understood back then already that mental health is going to be a problem, and we wanted to do something about it. So we got together with the team. We started researching what tools are available, how we could potentially allow people to work on their mental health, but not only in a meditation kind of way, because we felt meditation is great. It's scientifically proven to help with stress, but it wasn't for everybody. And so we wanted to find and create a platform which had an entertainment element so that it could be a lot more mainstream and a lot more people could use it to relax. So we started studying the technology, and of course we found technology like binaural beats that we're now using in our app. And we overall understood that music is something that has a healing element, that we could use music to really try to solve this problem. And so we wanted to create a music related app that had technology behind it to help people relax, and something that would be very, very special. And the reason it took us 10 years to develop is because we did something back then we were told we're crazy and we're never going to be able to achieve. We decided to record, the entire product in 3D. And so to do that, we went out to over 2,000 locations all over the world, recording sounds in 3D, meaning whenever you hear the forest, rain, water flowing, waterfalls, birds, different kind of animals, all of those sounds that you hear in our app were recorded in the field with this special equipment. So it's really, we're taking you out towards this nature. And that, stacked with all the technology, brought us to 2019 when we actually released the app. So that was just 1.5 years ago. It caught on really quickly. We are now available in over 70 countries. Google has chosen us as one of the fastest growing startups in 2019 out of Europe. And we were the only health and fitness app in that category. Everything else was gaming. Then recently in February of this year, we became the 4th most downloaded mindfulness app in the US. And in May, we actually became the 3rd highest grossing mindfulness app in the US. And to say that, to date, we're still a small self-funded company out of Estonia. So we're very, very proud of that story. But to be honest, that's just the business side of things. I think when we really realized that we are onto something was when we received our first letter, which was, I think, mid-2019, of a person that said that they were suicidal and that our app basically helped them reconsider, reevaluate life, and continuing on living. I think that was the moment that for the entire team, we just stopped and we said, okay, we need to do this. We really need to take this seriously and spread it as wide as possible.
And I love how you guys are using technology to help people through these relaxing audio journeys that you're offering here. And all seem to be filled with incredibly positive messages, along with 3D sounds and other technology. And I believe it's also backed by over 106 scientific studies. But can you expand on that?
Yes, of course. So we're using several different technologies in the app. And I think the magic is the recipe we came up with, the sort of how we layered each one of those elements. One of those elements are what's called binaural beats. Binaural beats have been studied. They've been proven to be completely safe and really, really useful. So binaural beats is basically when you play slightly different modified sounds to each ear, and that causes the brain to imagine a third sound and compensate for the difference. So this way, binaural beats basically stimulate rapid communication between the two different sides of the brain, and they have scientifically proven huge range of benefits for the brain. So that's one layer, binaural beats. The second layer is we're using binaural beats in the gamma audio range. So it's a very special range. The interesting thing about the gamma range is that only really highly disciplined monks who practice intensely have been able to reach the gamma range naturally. Most humans can't reach it naturally. So we're using binaural beats in the gamma wave to help relax the brain. And the third sort of layer that we added on top of that was rhythmic entrainment frequencies. Again, scientists discovered that certain sound rhythms and frequencies are better at relaxing the heart rate and managing cortisol stress levels, which is what I talked about earlier. And so each Synctuition journey, and we have over 100 journeys in the app right now. Each journey contains these relaxing low frequency and training sounds. Now, that's a lot of tech talk, but if you add on top of that these beautiful 3D sounds that were recorded in nature, that's a game changer. There's a thing called environmental psychology, which kind of um, talks about, bringing the person back to nature, and that helps them relax. It's kind of like a therapeutic technique where you treat people psychologically by bringing them closer to nature. So because we recorded all of these 3D sounds, and we have thousands and thousands of these sounds recorded, because we recorded them in nature, and we're using that in the app, it kind of brings that environmental psychology in as well. So when you layer binaural beats, gamma waves, the 3D sounds that we're using, rhythmic entrainment, and on top of that, you add beautifully composed music, you sort of get this beautiful product, which is Synctuition, and that magical recipe that we came up with, how to make it all sound incredibly good together. I think that's what really separates Synctuition from everything else.
And for anyone listening at home that just wants to try and visualize how it could work for them, can you just talk me through how it all works and how they could get the most out of the app?
Absolutely. So you download the app. Now, during the time when we made it free, it's even simpler. You just download the app, you sign up with a free account, you put your headphones on, and you simply start with the journey. As I said, we have over 100 journeys in the app. And the way it works is we recommend that you listen to one single journey per day. It takes about 25 minutes, which is only 2% of your time, and we're saying dedicate 2% of your day to working on your mental health. It's not much, and it's very, very useful. So you just sit down, close your eyes, put your headphones on, start a journey, and you listen for 25 minutes, and you will find it completely immersive, completely relaxing. The journeys were created in such a way that we actually took this Hollywood movie approach to them. We scripted them. We created mood boards for every journey. We then went out and recorded every sound for that mood board. Then we casted musicians, big production team, to compose it and make it sound beautiful. So we have a lot of really cool journeys out there that take you on a journey. I'll give you an example. We have one that's called Time Machine. So you close your eyes, you suddenly hear a bunch of buttons being pressed as if you're in a time machine, and then it takes you to a completely different place, and you jump out of the time machine, you land in sand, and then you suddenly hear water. And the beautiful thing about Synctuition journeys is that because they rely heavily on your imagination, every time you listen to it, you imagine this whole beautiful world around you, and it's really immersive because it's in 3D. Every time you listen, you could actually have a different experience and imagine something else. And some of these journeys are really, really beautiful. We have over 100,000 reviews saying how these journeys were just, people found them incredible, helped them sleep better, helped them relax, and they keep going back to them.
And I did recently speak with the government of Estonia. We had an whole episode about how supportive they are and how the nation is going digital and how the government are leading all these initiatives. And the reason I bring that up was a few moments ago, you said that the app is free at the moment for a period of time. And I believe it's the Estonian government that's actually helping you do that. Is that right?
Yes. Well, Estonia overall is a very innovative country. It's the country with the highest unicorns per capita. So I think innovation sort of flows through the blood in this country. And we wanted Estonia to also be a leader in mental health, because we spent all of our time developing the app here. And when we came to the government with the idea that we wanted to make the app free of charge in 14 countries because of the pandemic and the overall times that we're facing right now. I mean, if you look what's happening in the US, it's pretty crazy times. And we said, we want to come out with a campaign. We want to call it From Estonia with Love, because we want to highlight the fact that Estonia is an innovative country. And we came to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs with the idea, and they absolutely loved it. They're also worried about mental health, and they really appreciated our efforts and what we're trying to do, and highlight the fact that we don't forget where we came from, and to give this app free of charge to all of these countries. So yes, the ministry chose to support it. The foreign minister was very kind. He looked through the app. He gave us a great quote to show his support for it, and they're actually helping us by reaching out to those countries as well through the Estonian embassies, to help spread the word that people could work on their mental health in such a simple way and that it's free of charge. So we're very, very thankful to the minister and the Estonian government for the support that they've shown us. And, hopefully we can do a lot more together in the future.
It really is a breath of fresh air and fantastic to hear and also share with everyone all over the world today. And for all the techies listening, though, can you tell me a little bit more about the sound technology that makes this app possible?
Well, it's almost like a lot of Lego pieces put together. So if you go back to what I said earlier with binaural beats and the gamma waves and the 3D sounds, on their own, it's very difficult to imagine what this could sound like. So I think really the magic was, if you take gamma waves and you just play them, naturally the sound isn't that pleasant. But what we were able to do over those 10 years of development was to layer all of these tech elements, which are really beneficial for your mind, to layer them in a way where they sound incredible together. I mean, it was a trial and error. We tried to do a lot of mix them in a lot of different ways until we found really a formula that worked very, very well. We recorded these songs with real musicians, real people playing instruments, doing vocals, and then when we layered that on top with technology, it came into this beautiful song or a sound. And the way that our app works is it's basically a subscription model where you just stream sound, and you can of course download it for offline mode. A lot of our listeners are travelers and they really like using the app in airplanes to reduce the anxiety of flying or to help with jet lag after. So it's a simple streaming service. You log onto the app, you choose from the journeys that you have. And by the way our app works is that a new journey opens every single day, kind of like a Christmas calendar. So a new track will open 12 hours after you finish listening to the previous one. So every day when you open the app, you have an exciting new journey to go through, and you just click on a journey and you enjoy. It's very, very simple.
And just for everyone listening, I think I've got to point out here that you guys use gamma waves to make people feel all relaxed and calm and feel positivity in their life, not gamma rays, which sent the Incredible Hulk very angry. That's something completely different. Right?
I think it's a very good thing you mentioned that. I think it's important to highlight that.
I'm curious, have you seen an increase in demand over the last few weeks and months during this time of quarantine and lockdowns?
Well, absolutely. Ever since the lockdown started, we experienced a lot of growth, and in different regions of the world, to be honest with you. Of course, we experienced a surge in use of the app in the US and the UK, new downloads, new users, a lot of people sending us letters thanking us for being the sort of moment of positivity during an otherwise pretty dark, mundane for them. So they find Synctuition to be those 25 minutes of positivity during the day. So we saw a lot of new users. We're continuing to see a lot of new users right now, because I feel one of the things about our product is that it has a lot of organic growth. So when people listen to the product, they tend to be so surprised by the 3D sound. They typically tell a few more friends about it. And so we're seeing quite big organic growth in our usage. So yes, more downloads, but also people using the app longer and more regularly.
And for anyone listening, can you just remind them where they can find you guys online, download the app, or even contact your team if they do have any feedback or any questions they'd like to throw your way?
Sure. So you can download the app on the Apple iOS store or the Google Play Store. You just look for Synctuition. But also you can go to synctuition.com to find out more. And if you want to find out more about the current global campaign where we're making the app free of charge, and also about our Positivity Day, you can just go to synctuition.com/gift and you can find all the information there as well.
Well, I absolutely love what you're doing here, and you're almost bringing everyone's senses alive with this incredible fusion, really, of nature, music, and technology, and anything that increases positivity during this crazy times, like you said at the beginning of the podcast, has got to be a good thing. So thank you so much for coming on and taking the time to share your story with me today.
It was my absolute pleasure. Thank you as well for allowing us, for sharing your platform with us. And so for anybody out there listening, we really hope that you learn about mental health, get it into your daily practice. And I think Synctuition is a beautiful way to do that. So try the app and enjoy, and make sure you take care of your mental health.
One of the untold stories right now amidst this global crisis is how social distancing and quarantines are actually isolating people, and in doing so, making many people severely depressed. And the knock-on effect of that is increased risk factors around things like suicide. So for those reasons alone, I love how Synctuition is actually attempting to tackle those problems by providing these 80-plus relaxation audio journeys filled with incredibly positive messages, 3D sounds and other technology, which is all backed by 106 scientific studies. And in a world where news channels and online news sources are all ruled not by scientific sources, but by opinion and political agenda, I think it's so important that we try and tune out from all that noise. And maybe Synctuition could work for you. If that leads to better sleep, less stress, more positivity, and most importantly, a sense of relief from the current crisis, what have we got to lose? But I will add a video over on my website, over at techblogwriter.co.uk/Synctuition, so you'll be able to see it in action. And I'll be testing it out, but please let me know if you decide to do the same. And I mean that. If you're listening in June 2020 or February 2025, whenever it is that you come across this podcast episode, I want to hear from you. And that's one of the things that I love about recording these episodes, because I know some people discover the podcast and then go way back. So in a couple of years from now, they'll go way back and just start listening to them. And I do get a bit of a kick out of that when I get a message off someone saying, I'm listening to episode 312. So please keep those messages coming in. And you can email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com. You can get me on social channels such as LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. Just look for @NeilC.Hughes. And if you need any help with business blogs, ghostwriting for your CEO, or even launching your own podcast, pop by my website and you can find out more about how you can work with me and a back catalogue of over 1,250 podcast episodes. So that should be more than enough to keep you all busy, but I am going to return again tomorrow. I've already got another great guest lined up. I don't want to reveal any spoilers, but it's another corker. So hopefully you can join me again. But a big thank you for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.